Welcome back to the Rockhound Podcast. We're so happy that you're here and joining us. And we have got a super exciting guest for you tonight. You may recognize him. He is a facet wizard, a teacher, a faceting historian, traveler, YouTube channel, and an author of a great new book. But I'm going to let him introduce himself. So take it away.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. My name's Justin. I'm originally from Chicago. I've been in Bangkok for the last 6 years, and I'm a gem cutter, as you said, doing content and books and websites and schools and all kinds of fun stuff. Adventures.
Welcome. We're so happy to have you here. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a good time.
Absolutely. All right. And before we cut to it, we're going to hear from Bill.
I am Bill, and I'm finally not sick after 2 weeks.
We're so pleased that you're finally not sick, Bill.
Me too.
It's been a long time.
It has.
All right. Well, that's who's in the house. We've got the man behind the curtain, and also Kurt is saying, hey, from out there somewhere, and he will be back. He might even slip in tonight. Oh, and there he is, the man behind the curtain. And we're going to go straight into the shouts. We've got 2 shows. We'd love to thank everyone for thorough thankings in the videos we received for the Thanksgiving special. And if that wasn't thanking enough, we're also super thankful that Jesse from Rookie Rockhounding, my goodness, joined us last week. And it had been a really long time since we had seen him. So thank you for hanging out with us, Jesse, and everybody who came. They were all overjoyed to see him as well. Dana Kavanaugh, Lisa Largent, Jackie Kaya, Michelle Stenton, Johnny Rockhounding, Paul, the Rockhounding, Paul-tastic. You need to come with him next time, Jesse. Come on with Jesse next time. Kyla Abiglen, KK's Rocks, Jane Horn, Cynthia Fox, Val Summers, Julie McKenna, Kinda Sorta, Claude from Kalgoorlie, Sandmaker, Batoj Designs, Cindy Northcutt. You thought I was going to stop already, huh? No. Dustin Finds Rocks, Bebra Frazier. See, Jesse really hauled in a bunch of people.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
And they all had a lot to say to him, and I'm not repeating it. So just shouting y'all. Colleen, Neophyte Ors, Greg, Dirksen, Kinda Sorta. Did I say that one already? Afia Raka. I love that handle. I'm going to have to go check out that channel. New Zealand Rocks, Down Under, Oregon Rocks, Bob's Rocks, Berserker Metals, City Rock Hounding, and all y'all in the chat playing bingo, making it special, and our friends over on the Discord. And you know that we love you. We share our rocks and our thoughts all week long, so you can join us there too. Just hit me up on the email and I will send you an invite. And them's the shouts. So on to the weeks at large. Justin, would you like to start us off on all the crazy stuff you've been up to?
Sure. I started my week in the desert. I never spent time in the desert before. I have a friend that lives near Joshua Tree, so I went out and visited her and got to see so many weird ways of living that I had not ever seen before. So that's how I started the week, and now I'm back in Southern California, near San Diego, I guess. And I've been cutting some stones, and I did a talk yesterday in the GIA headquarters in Carlsbad, which was pretty cool. I'd never been there before, and it was really fun to speak to a bunch of really enthusiastic students. So that's been my week so far.
That looked like a swank affair, actually. That looks like a nice
it was
place.
Nice. It was nice.
Yeah.
So
very cool. And yeah, Joshua Tree is a good place to go for weird.
Yeah, there was. I think the highlight of that, I went into a Volkswagen Beetle, but it wasn't a Volkswagen Beetle. It was a hole in the ground that had a ladder into it, and I went underground, and I found myself in this giant, like 10-foot tall dome with musicians playing inside of it. and it was like a spaceship from the future or something. It was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, wild stuff out there. I don't know what was going on.
All right. And yeah, it only gets weirder from there, folks. And so I think you have a video from some of that, don't you? That's out, and your friend that was playing music.
Well, yeah, exactly. My buddy was here last week, and the end of the week I went. So I've got a couple more videos that are going to come out this weekend of. I didn't really film much in Joshua Tree, though. I don't know why. Like I came out of that underground dome and I was like, that was the coolest place I've been to. Why didn't I shoot any video down there? I don't know. It's just gonna remain a secret, I guess. So
yeah, sometimes, I'm sure all the channels out there will agree. You got to put the recording down and just do the thing, you know.
We were doing the thing. So
awesome. Well, thank you, Justin. How about you, Bill?
It's been a very the first week and a half was very uneventful because I was just sick the whole time. And then the past couple days I've been running a sale for Cyber Week. Started Monday, it's running till next Monday. So I've just been busy packing orders, polishing rocks, prepping fossils, like just getting stuff ready to ship. And that's literally all of my 2 weeks. It's been sick and packing orders. So not very eventful.
Aww. But you packed 2 weeks into one, theoretically.
Yes, it was mostly just laying in bed feeling awful.
Well, I'm glad that you're feeling better, and that,
yes,
that you're with us, and I hope that your sale is going well. All is well with that.
Yes, it is. It's been busy, and
That's
it still has like
news.
4 more days. So we'll see how much more busy happens.
All right.
And then
Well,
tomorrow we'll be cutting some opals. Yeah, exactly.
And opals?
Yes, tomorrow
Did I hear opals?
We'll be cutting some more opals because that's one of the things I was doing earlier today. But that video will be a way out, so I won't talk too much about that. Actually, Saturday's video, we are doing a bunch of fossil prepping. I had to take a break from it because I'm sick, but lots of fossil prepping, lots of ammonite, lots of ammonites, speculites. So that'll be coming out Saturday, which will be tomorrow when this comes out.
Ooh.
Including one of the biggest ammonites I've ever found. So that was super exciting.
Oh, I can't wait to see that. Yeah. All right. Our interest appetite has been whetted. Consider it. Is that all? Is that all, Bill?
That is everything.
All right. I didn't have as exciting a week as Bill. Just frazzly, as per tradition. Got some great projects done, one of which you'll see in my show and tell. And that is going to be a short video that'll come up sometime this weekend, along with a long video, if I can get out of the editing process. Goodness gracious. It snowed here at the beach today, which was really, really cool. And other than that, yeah, just trying to stay warm, which I can see you guys are also, and hopefully all
yes.
y'all are
it's funny
trying.
That you say it snowed there, because the snow's gone here in Montana, but it's like averaging 15 degrees, so it's not much better.
Yeah, for the forecast did not have snow in it at all, and so I had some other plans, and it started with some hail, and so that's normal. And the hail that had hailed a few days ago stuck for a couple days. I mean, it hailed so hard and so deep that it looked like snow. And then the hail stopped, and so I was gonna go outside and get a quick run in, and soft, billowy snowflakes were coming down, and part of me was like, this is epic, I gotta go for a run in the snow. And then the other part of me was like, it's flipping cold, no. So the tea lover in me just stayed home and worked on my show and tell. So that was my week. And so I think that there's just so much that you have going on, Justin, but it's traditional that we start at the beginning. And so if you would briefly touch upon how you got into this crazy game in the first place.
Okay. Let me try and think of a fast way to say it because it's a story here. But uh, I had been a musician for all of my 20s and most of my teenage years. And I had always a sort of creative thing somewhere in my life. You know, it was music for a long time. When I was 30, I moved out to San Francisco from the Midwest, and I decided I wasn't going to do music anymore. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was just like, I want to try other things now. And so I stumbled into the world of rocks and faceted stones from one of my coworkers at my job. She took me to a trade show outside of San Francisco, and it was the
San
first time I'd
Mateo?
ever seen. Yeah, exactly.
That was my
So,
first show too.
really? Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So she took me to the San Mateo show, and it's like a medium-sized show. It's not huge, but there is people from all over the world there, and I was so impressed by, you know, just like people with their families and vendors with kids there, and you know, but mostly it was like about the stones, and I saw faceted stones for the first time, and I hadn't seen this before. I hadn't seen the gem trade before. I didn't even know that was a thing, and I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. I want to be part of this. But then when I saw the faceted stones, I was like, that's what I want to do. I was like, how do they do that? This is so, these tiny little things, how do they put all those little faces on there? And I got super lucky because when I went home and I looked up like how to do gem cutting, I found out that there's such thing as lapidary clubs. And then I found out that there was one that was in my neighborhood in San Francisco. So it happened to be a really, really good club. So I joined that, and I did cabs for 2 years because I really wanted to do faceting, but there was a 2-year waiting list to get into the faceting class. So as soon
Wow.
as I joined the
Wow.
club, I told them I want to do that, and they said, okay, put your name on the list, and in the meantime, you can do other stuff. And I did. So I did cabs and a little bit of carving, and even playing with some freehand faceting for a few years, and you know, sort of got my understanding of what it is that we're doing here, and the whole process of polishing, which is, you know, was a real mystery. And then once the faceting thing started, I was like in heaven, basically. Like I tried it once, and I was ready to buy a machine, but I didn't want to buy one until I did the class. So I did the first class, like the first day of class, and then I bought the machine on eBay that same night. I went to the second day of class, and my machine had already arrived, and I was like, I finished the first side of the stone in the second class, and I was like, okay, I'm done. You can give my seat away, because normally people are in the class for like 6 months because it takes a while. You know, it's like once a week for a few hours, and you don't know what you're doing. So I finished half the stone, and I was like, okay, you've shown me everything that I'm going to get out of this class, and I need to do this every day now. So I'm going to go home and finish the stone. And that was like 9+ years ago, and I have just completely put my life focused into this one single thing, which is faceting in all of its forms. So yeah, from there, I decided I was going to take it really seriously, like professionally, but I didn't know anything about the stones. So I decided to move out to Bangkok to do gemology school. And I did the GIA program. And when I finished it, I sort of, how do you say, I obtained a mentor, which was awesome. And he kind of helped introduce me into the community there and helped me get my first job, and inadvertently introduced me to my now wife. So lots of stuff happened in Bangkok, and I've now been in Bangkok for 6 years, running a gem cutting business and eventually running a gem cutting school. And this year, I came back post-pandemic. We were kind of sick of being there, and we've been on a crazy adventure since January. And now it's December, and there's still some more adventure to come. So it's been a wild ride.
That is an awesome nutshell.
Yeah, no
You
kidding.
like, we went from the beginning to the end so quickly. That was a wonderful thumbnail. Thank you. And I love the part that you were saying that you just for one thing, knew that you wanted to try the faceting, but the fact that it made you so happy. I know people that break out in hives thinking about trying to facet, like
Yeah.
it's against the grain of their whole being. And that, for other people like yourself, it's just, wow, this is
Yeah.
it.
Well, I think the artistic side of me got really into it just to, because the thing that failed me in music was like, I really want to do this thing. I spent years honing my craft. I want it to be a money-making venture so I can keep doing it. And it wasn't that. It just wasn't working. So I was really trying to find something that was creative, but also wasn't just like, I'm doing this for myself. Like I want to have a functional occupation that is creative, but also can make money. And I think I sort of sensed that even in that first San Mateo show. I was like, oh, these people are doing this for a living. They're not just on a hobby here. So that kind of encouraged me. But then, the creative side. And, obviously when you start faceting, it's hard. You don't know what's going on. But once you get it, at least for me, it just becomes like this sort of relaxing, meditative, cathartic experience. And now I find that if I don't cut regularly, like every day or at least every week, I'm like kind of getting grumpy, like I need that now. I'm addicted to it. So that's my meditation, that's my yoga. It's just gem cutting.
Oh man. Yeah, you've got some of the choir here, I think,
Yeah,
in one way
absolutely.
or another. So
I've said this before, and I remember the podcast where I said it. It got lit up in the comments because they all called me crazy. But I said that when I want to relax, I facet stones, and it's just so relaxing to me personally. And everyone in the comments was like, "You're crazy. That's so stressful." No, it's not. It's so it's nice. So I totally 100% relate to that.
I had this, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but I had this experience, or I had this conversation with a gem cutter in London, the really old school guy. He's like almost 80 or something, maybe he's 80. And he was telling me that for the first 10 years, he's a jam peg cutter. So he's like of a totally different school than anyone that we know. But yeah, and a totally different skill set to be able to do that kind of cutting. But he said for the first 10 years, he had no idea what he was doing. Like he was coming into work every day and faceting stones, but he said he came into work on, in the 10th year, and it just like clicked for him. And he was like, oh, I just got it. Like I just understood. And I'm getting close to my 10-year anniversary. And I'm wondering if something like that is in store for me. Since I've been down here, and really this whole year, I've been finding that this sort of meditative state that I like to get into when I'm cutting is now almost turning into like an altered state. And I'm sort of pushing my practice a bit. Like I'm just improvising everything now. Like I'm not even using any diagrams lately. I'm not even using any patterns that I'm familiar with. I'm literally inventing the cuts because I got a customer right now that really likes that. And I'm just like getting so into the geometry, I'm like adjusting all the angles and facets as I'm doing it, and I'm making it up, and like writing these crazy patterns, that are just like scribbly
It makes
bits.
perfect sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. But but I'm just like, I just finished a stone before we started this. It's in the acetone right now, so I don't think we'll get to see it here, but I'm just like, oh my God, this is the craziest thing I've ever done. And I think it could be something really awesome. And it's just like, I've never done anything like it before. So my understanding of geometry is just getting so far out. It's really cool.
It sounds like the
Heck yeah.
corollary between traditional painting and, say, abstract painting, that like, your stuff, so push it a little bit, sometimes maybe not so much. And then other times it just turns out to be brilliant. So
Yeah. And then sometimes it fails too. Like I did one last week and I was kind of like, I might have to redo that one. I'm not sure. That experiment went weird, but I built on that idea this week and it worked. So yeah, I'm getting somewhere, I guess.
happy thing about faceting rocks is that you can do it again. It just gets a little smaller.
Exactly.
Right on. And that kind of reminded me of you, Theo, as well. I'm sorry, Bill. Um, my goodness. Don't you love to have a little free for all on the rock yourself?
Yes, actually. I didn't have a teacher. Like no one. I kind of lucked into a faceting machine way before any of my other lapidary equipment because it just so happened to be the most affordable one that I could find. And for the first year I had it, I used it to make cabochons because I didn't have anything else to use. And I only had like one flat top dop for like, making the pavilion, but I couldn't actually transfer the stone to another dop to start working on the crown. So I really couldn't facet with it. And then finally ordered some dops and just failed so much, but I had so much fun doing it because I had to just I've been fasting for like 4 years, and I will be the first to tell you that like I have so much to learn because I am kind of just tweaking my failures a little bit every single time, and it's been a lot of fun. But yeah, I only started using diagrams like last year. I just had so much fun, like just kind of making my own stuff up as I go. But I'm sure if someone like you, who's a professional, like really good faceter, saw the stuff from my early days, you would just
Well, we all have early days, right?
yeah.
I don't show off my early days stones either because they don't look that cool, but you gotta start somewhere. And
Yeah.
it's probably better to start with playing around and making your own stuff than just like I think some people get really fixated on just I gotta do this diagram, it's gotta be perfect, and then you sort of don't ever get a chance to have that freedom like what you're saying. So
Yeah.
maybe you're actually on the right track here.
Well, I hope so. They're getting better. They're getting better. That's for sure. But yeah, I love faceting without diagrams. It's fun.
Yeah. I know for me, I really had a level up when I moved to Thailand and I started to work with a Sri Lankan cutter. Like he became sort of my mentor, my cutting mentor, and then my wife as well. My wife's is a pro cutter as well, and she's been cutting a lot longer than me. And so when these two people came into my life, it's just like, oh, I have these two really good teachers with different skill sets, and it just allowed me to like overcome all the stuff that I didn't know because there was so much stuff I still didn't know yet. I was still like you, self-trained, and
Yeah.
I had a teacher for like 2 classes, and then I had the internet and books.
Yeah.
But there's so much to learn, and then when someone can just show you, it becomes so quick. Like it's like, okay, I just learned more in 1 month than those first 2 years. So
Yeah,
um,
exactly.
yeah, but it happens for whatever speed it happens, I guess.
Yeah.
As long as it happens.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. As long as you're still having fun, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Are you kind of when you were talking about how you got into the faceting game, you touched on something that I would love to hear more about. So you've been traveling America for the last 6 months. I would love to hear a little more about that.
Yeah. So when the pandemic hit, I was in Thailand, and we had a faceting school, and it closed, like permanently closed. Like I pretty much lost my job.
Mm.
And so I was like, okay, we it took us a couple months. We got stabilized with what we were going to do, and we just spent more time cutting stones, I guess. But so I had a bunch of extra time then, and I started to, I don't know, get into a sort of a side project. I have for like 6 years now, I've been working on a project about the history of gem cutting, like the history of faceting going back like 500 years. And
Wow.
I'm like putting together this sort of first draft of a book for that, like at the beginning of the pandemic. I can't exactly remember what was the thing that happened, but I think I was like, oh, I don't have enough about the modern, like the last 100 years, and I don't know enough about the American story to like finish the book. I think that's how it happened. And then I just started getting into this American story, the American history of faceting, and it just started compelling me so much that I was like, okay, this other book that's going to go on pause right now. I'm gonna start working on American stuff. And so for 2 years during the pandemic, I was doing all kinds of research, all kinds of whatever research you can do online only, because obviously we're locked in the house, and we're in Thailand, so it's not the easiest place to do research about American history. But so for 2 years, I was doing this research and putting together like all this data, And then as soon as the sort of borders opened up and this year began in January, we're like, okay, we're going to get out of here for a year. We're going to do a year-long trip, and we're going to go across America and interview as many fasteners as we can. We're going to go to as many lapidary clubs as we can, as many mines as we can, museums. I don't even know where else we've been to, all kinds of places. But so the idea was to, I had all the research, I had the skeleton of the project that I wanted to do, but there's so many holes in it because a lot of the stuff isn't written down. You have to go see it. Like, for instance, I knew that there was this really amazing story in Maine, and I uncovered a lot of it. But then we went to Maine and we found a faceting machine from the 1890s that
Wow.
like nobody
Wow.
outside of Maine knows about. And it's like the first faceting machine ever, the first American style faceting machine ever made. And it still exists. And if we hadn't gone there, we would not know. There's no photos of it online. There's no documentation of it online. And then, the Historical Society there had all this data on these guys that were living in, the 1890s to 1920s. And so we've just been going around doing that, finding things. Last month I was in Portland, and Portland is one of the major places in the book that I'm working on, the major historical places from like the 20s and 30s. And I went through one of the oldest club in I messaged them. I said, hey, your guys' founder is really an important character in my story. Do you have any stuff from that period of time? And they were like, yeah, we're not really sure. Come over to our house. It's like in different people's houses. So I went over to this lady's house and we started going through these boxes and discovered 6 binders, scrapbooks that this guy in the 1920s made, like 2,000 pages I scanned that
Whoa.
over 2 days between 2 people's houses. So newspaper articles, magazine articles, original 1930s photos from their club outings, going out into the Oregon,
Oh,
going out to get the agates and the thunder eggs. And I think they didn't even know about sunstones because I never saw anything about sunstones. It was all about
wow.
agates.
Wow.
And they even had some of the stones that the original founder had, a little collection that he had of fluorescent minerals. So like, I'm just finding all this amazing stuff. And now I'm in LA doing, Southern California doing the same thing. This is my last stop. But so once the year's over and the journey has ended, then I need to like go sit down and collate all this data because I've got the whole story in front of me now. It's just a matter of processing it, writing it out, figuring out the photos that we're going to use. But it's really, really cool. Like the story is really, really cool. And it really reflects the culture of America, this sort of from the pioneering spirit of the beginning of America to the sort of industrial technological changes that we see, like in the end of the 1800s when electricity and everything comes, and then, up into the wars and like how culture changes and how manufacturing technology changes during the wars and the Depression. It's so cool. Like it's touching on all the
Wow.
really interesting moments of American history, but through this really interesting lens of lapidary clubs and gemstone cutting. So
I
that's
love
That is
how
so
niche
cool.
that is.
That is
Oh,
it's
so cool.
fabulous.
you'd think it's like so niche that you wouldn't be able to find anything. And I just can't believe what I found. Like I didn't really have a lot of high hopes that we're going to find a ton of stuff. And man, we found so much. And there's still so much more to find. Like I haven't even scratched the surface in Southern California. And that's the other major area where machines were being made, and because there's mines down here and all that. So yeah, I'm excited for the end of the year, and for January is going to be really cool.
That is
Wow.
so awesome.
Yeah, that sounds like a dream trip. I'm sure not to everyone, but that is fabulous. And uh part of your trip also, you were able to go and interview the mine owners and that sort of thing. Uh
Yeah.
wow, what was your favorite mine to go to? Tell us more about that.
I there was a few that I liked. I mean, the main one, Mount Micah, was I was really interested for that because I was really sucked into the whole main story. I mean, there's photos of these miners back in the 1880s, and they're like, you know, in these pits or whatever, but they're like dressed up for the photo, so they're like in waistcoats and ties with like these big pieces of tourmaline, these gigantic pieces of tourmaline that they're pulling out. So that's the oldest mine in America. So I really wanted, I mean, the oldest gem mine. So I really wanted to check that out. And we got to go, and I got to like take a photo of the mine is like a wall that with a hole in it, right? Where the mine is underground. So we didn't get to go in the inside because of insurance reasons, but I was able to take a photo of the front of the mine to simulate a photo that I had found from 1910 of the exact same spot. So I duplicated a 1910 photo in 2022, and I put them side by side for Instagram, and I was like, wow, that's so cool. But so that one was really cool, and you can still kind of go there and go through the tailings and stuff, and we found a little bit of like black tourmaline and quartz and stuff like that. Nothing amazing, but some souvenirs. And then I think the other really cool mine, well, most of the Montana mines are really, really cool, but the Yogo mine, I sort of didn't have a good understanding of Montana sapphire before we went there. Like, I didn't realize there's Montana sapphire and then there's Yogo.
Yeah.
And I didn't know about Yogo. I don't know why, but we went to the Yogo mine, and they showed us, before we went in the mine, they showed us finished stones. And I was like, oh my God, like these are not like Montana sapphires. These are incredibly vivid blue. Like, these are the best sapphires. And then I flipped the box over, and it's like 1 carat, $13,000. And I was like, oh, okay, these are also the most expensive sapphires. Okay, put that away. But so yeah, we got to go in that mine, and that's also, there's a really cool history there going back, to like the early 1900s or late 1800s. And then some of the ones in like this Rock Creek, that one also is really, really old, again going back into the 1800s. So it's really cool to like go into a mine, or even Yogo, you go into the mine and there's like supports that are up there, kind of reinforcing the mine area, and some of them are from those original miners. Like, they still have stuff. There's tracks in there for trolley carts that they don't use anymore because they're all messed up, but they're like the original ones from the 1800s, and it's just like, whoa, stuff's still here. It's so cool. The tradition is still alive, which is really exciting to think about. So yeah.
Oh,
And
that
now
is so awesome.
I haven't seen the Southern California tourmaline mines yet, but I'm planning to do it in the next couple of weeks, and I'm really excited for that too. Those are also historical mines that have really interesting history and traditions around them. So yeah, it's been really cool. So if anyone's following my YouTube channel, I think whenever the trip ends and I get sort of settled down, I'm going to start processing some of the footage, because I've been interviewing the miners and documenting all the mines that I've been to. So I want to do a whole video series on American mining, because I feel like people don't know. People have heard of Montana sapphires, but not many people really know about like Maine tourmaline or California tourmaline, or maybe some people know about Oregon sunstone, but probably not the common jewelry buyer. So I just thought it'd be really cool to like show the behind the scenes and spread some awareness about that.
100%. Yeah. That's missing from everybody's YouTube is being able to watch that kind of information available. In fact, I remember going down the lines at the gem shows, and a lot of times when you would talk to the people that were selling the faceted gems, there wasn't as much information. A lot of times they were more representatives of the mine, and they were a few generations, if you will, away from that wasn't the miner, and it wasn't the faceter. It was someone else that you were talking to. Whereas a lot of the other stones, you might be talking to the miner. Especially if you're at Tucson, you're probably talking to the miner, in a lot of cases. And for me, the stones had less life in them when I didn't have the backstory. And so when you're able to bring us these stories about the mines, and folks, you can go check out the Yogo and the different the one in Maine. You've got a video about that already, and so you can see these beautiful things, and it's not that they need any more value. They're gorgeous. And like you said, they're extremely valuable, but it means more somehow. Like
Yeah,
having that
Yeah.
backstory.
because you sort of realize, and I realized pretty quickly, like, man, mining is really hard. As somebody who will sit here for 10 or 12 hours a day cutting a stone, seeing somebody who's going to go outside in the sun for 10 or 12 hours because they have the same passion and obsession that I do, I was just like, whoa, 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 this is crazy. Like, I was obviously not meant to be a miner, because after a couple of hours, I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of done with this. Like, it's hard. You're sweating, it's hot, you're getting sunburned, and it's not that I think if you don't have that kind of personality, there's not that much to like keep you going, because they don't always find stuff, and sometimes they get a day where they've done the whole 12 hours of work and they got like 5 sapphires or whatever, and you're just like, okay, well, that's not going to pay for the day, so like, bummer. So yeah, I learned, I like going to the mines, but I don't want to go for more than a day each, because it's just, to me, not that exciting. I rather someone give me the rough and say, okay, you can do something with this. But for those guys, they love it. You can see it when you talk to them. They love what they do. They love being outside. They love the history. A lot of them really know their history, even though if it's not their family or anything, but they know the history of those mines, and they know everything about their one locality. Like, they're experts on it. It's so cool. But definitely not for me. I respect them, but definitely not for me. I'm a different part of the chain.
Yeah, well, it's the stronger chain, having everybody have their own, artistic part of it. I think that's great.
Yeah. Everybody loves what they do, so that makes the final thing really good. But as you said, knowing the story is cool. The provenance, it's important.
Oh,
Mineral
absolutely.
collectors are doing the same. If the stone if you don't know where it's from, it's not that interesting. It's as a collector, it's just like, okay, it's beautiful, but where is it from? What's the context? And I think even with our faceted stones, we like to know those things if we can. Hopefully.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Well, I would love to talk more about the Tourmaline. I know a friend of mine actually went and got to hunt for red tourmaline in California, and it was some of the just prettiest stuff I've ever seen. So I've actually have not handled much tourmaline other than black tourmaline. So I would love to hear some stuff about.
I just finished a tourmaline today. That one I was telling you guys about, that I'm just like, expanding my mind. It's still here. It's not done yet. I mean, the stone is done, but I'm pulling it out of the acetone right now.
We get this special show.
Yeah, well, it's still on the dot, but let me try and show you.
That's okay.
I'll show you the bottom side at least. Okay, so let me do this real quick. So,
and the loop. Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
So this is what I've been doing all day, if I can get my hands steady. So this is my crazy pattern.
That's beautiful.
It's
right?
Like it's gonna be kind of teal. Whoops. Oh, I'm just messing up my camera now. So, and if we try to look at it from this way, this is it doesn't really work on camera, but sometimes when I'm cutting, because I'm cutting the bottom second, so I'll start to see all the colors and stuff like light up. You can kind of see it's teal. It's going to be teal. So yeah.
Wow.
What a gorgeous stone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I can't wait to. I have to wait till tomorrow morning to see it, because I don't want to heat this up because it could shock it. So I just have to let the acetone slowly, let the stone come off. But so yeah, it's like every morning that I've been cutting at night, it's like a special surprise to wake up and it's just like, before I even basically I just like, I wipe the crap out of my eyes, and then I'm just like, wait, let's go see how that stone turned out. So tomorrow morning we'll find out. So this is coming out tomorrow. So probably on my Instagram tomorrow, when people are hearing this, the stone will be on Instagram. So if you look for an egg-shaped tourmaline, and you're gonna see what that stone actually looked like. So we'll see if I did a good job or not.
Oh, I'm excited.
Yeah, I could gaze at that for hours.
Yeah, no kidding.
Tourmaline's fun though. I mean, tourmaline comes from for American localities, tourmalines comes from California and Montana. So you've got these two totally different, parts of the country. But so far, what I've seen, because I did go to a tourmaline mine last week, but not one of the major ones. It's just a small place where lapidary, mineral clubs go out and do field trips. But it was funny because I got there and I was like, oh, I recognized all the signs. We got pegmatite rock, we've got mica everywhere. There's little black, tourmaline schorl just in everything. And then of course we didn't find the good stuff because it's already been mined out. But you got to go through the rock and find the tourmalines in the pockets, because they grow in these sort of pockets, and then the miners will open up one of those pockets and just pull out all these, hopefully pull out all these wonderful these tourmalines. So yeah, it's really special. I wish that I could be there one time whenever they open up one of the pockets, because I think I've seen it in video, but it's sort of unbelievable to think that these beautiful clusters of crystals are just sitting in a hidden hole, and they just get lucky one day and they're pulling out these incredible stones. It's like, okay, nobody's ever seen them before. That's what's so cool to me about mining. This has been in here for possibly, I don't know, 100,000 years or something, and it's never seen the light of day. The sun has never touched it, because it's always been inside the earth. And then some human pulls it out and they're just like,
yeah, it's amazing. I have always wanted to, especially now that I've had my appetite whet a little bit. Over the summer, we went digging for smoky quartz, and I finally got into my first pocket, and it was just this tiny little pocket. We pulled out just glassy little smoky quartz crystals. There's only 4 of them, but I was like, instantly, okay, I understand why people do this, because that moment was so exciting.
Yeah. And when I was in Montana, it's sort of different, right? Because sapphires aren't coming out of pockets like that, and they're not normally finding them in the ground. They're having to tumble a bunch of stuff and put it through sifters and sorters. So the end of the day is the dude up on the trommel pulling gravel out and then finding little sapphires in a gigantic metal cage. So it's slightly different,
right?
But I think the rush is the same. Those guys, they're looking forward all day to okay, it's 4:00, it's time to turn the thing off and go see what we got. And then they got their little Gatorade bottle full of sapphires at the end of the day, because they are throwing them in there. So it's cool to see the similarities, looking at Maine versus Southern California, same host materials, but then looking at Montana and then seeing the differences and the similarities and differences between some of the localities there. Really cool, really fun to I feel like, I don't know, there's only, I guess, only so much stuff that you can learn just by reading it. And then you read about mines, in gemology school that we learn about mines, but then until you actually go there and see it, I would never ever remember oh, tourmaline grows in feldspar with mica, right? I would not remember that, because I don't remember facts like that. But now that I've gone to the mine and seen that, I will never forget that. Oh, there it is again. I remember this from Maine. Now I remember it from California. It's a great learning experience, because that's something it'll never fade from my mind. It's so embedded in there now. So yeah, it's been a
absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, luckily we're all gonna at least have a book to read about some of it. Because I don't think we're gonna get our boots on the ground as extensively as you have. What a fun thing to do.
Yeah, well, hopefully you guys are out in Oregon and you're in Montana, so it's possible. Some of those mines are open to the public, some aren't, but yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with that. And then sometimes linking up with some of the local clubs, the mineral clubs and lapidary clubs, and if they're going on a field trip when I'm there, I tagged along with one last week, and that's how I saw the tourmaline mine last week, and it was just oh man, this is so fun to do it with other people, like other people that are really into it. So yeah, you never know.
Yeah, that's a great point. I know a lot of people that are into this sort of thing kind of just pledge out on their own, and they go to a place and they camp or what have you, and they do their best, and it might take them several times over to figure out what they're doing, because it's not a gimme, like you said, mining
Yep.
can be really hard.
Yeah. Well, and especially if you've never been to the locality before, like to me, it's almost just like you're almost, unless it's something that's really obvious, like you're almost destined to fail because it's not obvious. Like every time I've been to a mining locality, somebody has to point it out and be like, this is what we're looking for. This is what it looks like when it's on the ground. And until until your eyes have like acclimated to that, you can't see anything. You're just like, okay, there's a lot of pebbles around here. Like, I don't know what I'm doing, but
Yeah.
once somebody shows you, then, you sort of start to see things that you didn't notice before. So I'm
Oh,
learning a lot.
true. It's so true. Yes, especially
Absolutely.
if material is covered. Some things are nice, like at least the sunstones are clean. So when you get to one, like
Yeah.
there you are, and
Yeah.
sometimes even if they're covered in a bit of basalt, if there's any lighting whatsoever. I mean, and in Oregon, sometimes you don't have lighting.
Yeah.
Yeah, well clouded over. I think the first 3 times that I went to the Sunstones, it was overcast. And I was
Oh,
like, they're supposed to be sunstones, but you still find them because they're relatively clean. But if you're looking for dirt clods, or if you are looking for the thing that the prospector is looking for, like you said, the feldspar with the mica or what have you, you're on a sniffing trail that could be destined
yeah.
for failure.
Or like
And
if you're looking for opaque material that the skin isn't the same color, like something that you have to break open, it's like, well, there's no way you're going to find that unless somebody who's been there before to say, okay, break that open and you're going to see something cool.
yes, absolutely. I think Wyoming jade is a great example of that because it has just this just drab white, almost looks like sandstone, little tiny paper thin layer all the way around it. And right underneath that layer is just bright, vivid green. But I mean, if you don't know what you're looking for, there's no way you're going to
Yeah.
find it. I it's funny that you say that destined to fail if you don't have someone to show you, because the reason that pocket was so exciting is because I've gone to dig for smoky quartz probably 2 or 3 times a year for the last 4 years, and we failed every single time. And that one time was the first time we actually found a pocket. It's amazing how that light goes on. It's like, I know what to look for next time. I'm so
Yeah,
happy about
exactly.
this.
Wow, so you were really determined. That's a lot of
Yeah.
times to go back without any
Yeah.
motivation and reinforcement.
Yeah, no, I know they're out there. There's some amazing smoky quartz and just amazing stuff out there in the Boulder Batholith, which is right outside of Butte. There's just such nice stuff in that area, but I know the basics of where to go, but yeah, I just every single time we'd come up empty-handed, and yeah, it's just a lot of determination. It also helps that I live like 3 hours away, so it isn't like a huge journey to get over there, but yeah, it was an effort for sure.
Yeah.
Well, you did say something about an addiction, so that's why we keep on going back.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't help it.
Yeah.
Bill, do you have another direction?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to hear how you run your channel on the road, because that is something that kind of blows my mind. I can't
Yeah.
imagine doing that.
It's been kind of crazy. So when the pandemic hit, I was already doing YouTube for a while, but when the pandemic hit, I was like, I want to do YouTube a lot more seriously. Like that's when I started to really do like weekly content. And then when, after 2 years of doing that and getting more camera gear and getting better at shooting videos and, having all kinds of realizations about how YouTube works, we're getting ready to do this trip. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to be able to like do real videos as I go because we're already interviewing people and shooting a bunch of stuff. And I've got like all these cameras that, have to get backed up all the time and stuff. So I was like, okay, well, what am I going to do? Like, I don't want to just not do YouTube for the year because like we're going to be doing all this cool stuff. So then I just thought, well, what if I just start to like shoot a travel log as I go, like just a vlog, and it'll be just weekly from my phone. Like I don't have time to pull out cameras and set up mics and everything. Just something quick, pull my phone out of my pocket and talk about where we at right now, because I thought we're going to see so many cool places and I think people will enjoy seeing it, but also I'm going to really enjoy being able to go back, you know, at the end, like in 2 years, if I want to remember what did I do when I was in, you know, Montana. Wow, I got like 2 weeks of Montana video there. So every week I've been, you know, shooting daily or whatever. And then usually, well, I'm not always consistent, but usually what I try to do is like Sunday morning, I will put all the footage that's on my phone onto my computer, spend a couple of hours editing it, and then throw it up on YouTube. And then like that's the weekly vlog. Sometimes the week turns into like, you know, like, oh, we're going to be in this place for 2 more days, so I better finish the 2 more days. So then the schedule has gotten kind of off. But I've got, you know, I've been pretty regular. Like I think almost every week I've had a video that's between 5 and 20 minutes long. That's just, here's what I did this week, and it's all gem stuff, you know, mostly because we've just been doing gem stuff this whole year. So
Utah was fun, actually. Doggy and birthday, you know.
oh yeah,
And
that was a fun
arches
one.
and
Yeah.
yeah.
We were just hiking and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, it's been cool. And then I can sort of also, you know, because there's, like I was saying, there's been these moments of amazing triumph where like I walk out of this person's house having just taken 2,000 photos of lost history, and I can actually for myself just capture that moment of joy and just be like, oh my God, I can't believe that just happened. And like, I don't have anyone to share. I mean, my wife was with me, so I could share the moment with her, but like, if she's not here, or sometimes it's just nice for myself to just like, I want to capture this moment of joy on camera because it might not ever happen again. I mean, it's not going to happen like that again. So I think for myself, just to be able to go back and remember how psyched I was at these certain moments when, like, you know, things that were building up for 2 years or something, and I finally got to do it. You know, like I finally got to go to the museum in South Carolina and see this faceting machine from the 1930s that I've been researching for 2 years. Like, boom, you know, like there it
Wow.
is. So it's been fun to do that, and then occasionally I'll find myself in like a very beautiful place, like a beautiful Airbnb, or in the case of Utah, a very beautiful cabin that we rented for the week. And I was like, oh man, this is a really beautiful house. Like I should shoot a proper video here since we're going to be here for a couple of days. So a couple of times I've done that. The last one I did was in coming down out of Oregon into California, and I went through what is it called? I can't remember the name.
The John Day, or what
No,
side of
it's right outside of San Francisco,
oh,
Sacramento. I was in Sacramento to go see a faceting machine, but I needed to get an Airbnb, and this one popped up, and it's like 1920s house decorated in 1920s Cuban style. And my whole year right now has been about like the 20s and 30s. So I'm like obsessed with the 20s and 30s right now. You know, we're driving across the country, listening to 1930s music. I'm watching 1930s movies at night just to get into the culture of what was happening then. So I could not resist like this beautiful looking apartment in Sacramento, and I rented it for the night, and I go in there, and it's really, I mean, an incredibly beautiful place. And I was just like, and I was alone, so I was just like, I'm going to set up all my stuff right now and just shoot a video tonight. And I had been thinking about a video that I wanted to shoot for YouTube anyway, so I was just like, okay, this one's going to get to have a really good background. And yeah, it did. So it's been really fun to just, you know, now when I'm looking at Airbnb, I'm trying not to do too many more Airbnbs because we've done too many this year. But when I'm looking at
you're gonna get
Airbnb now,
sponsored.
oh yeah, I hope so. Gosh, that would make
Right?
life easier. But now when I'm looking at the Airbnb, I'm kind of thinking about like, I want to shoot a video here because it's going to be a nicer place than like a hotel. So I'm thinking about that a lot more now. Like, if I'm going to rent an Airbnb, it should be beautiful so I can shoot a video while I'm there. I kind of wish I could continue this lifestyle because my YouTube channel would become very, background eclectic. Like every video I'm in a different place. I'm not sure if I have that much to talk about though. So, I'm not sure if I can afford that. That's the real thing. So
Oh, I was gonna say, you seem to be like the plethora of infectious information, like, interest for sure.
yeah, okay. I guess I could probably find things to talk about,
I
but
think.
yeah. So, but I like the idea of Airbnb sponsoring me. If you guys are listening to this, Airbnb, I'll work very hard for you.
That's awesome. I hope you get picked up, seriously. I mean, I think that the videos that I saw from your travelogue were very nicely put together. The scenery is incredible. You've got an awesome eye for that. And the editing, everything was just so easy and it was over. You always want somebody wanting more by the end,
Perfect.
And
That's the goal, right?
Totally.
So yeah, I just
Nailed
keep
it.
everyone as to be continued.
Yep.
So I don't know. At the end of the year, I've decided, like, I know at the end of December the travelogue ends. So then I guess the last one it won't be to be continued anymore. But I think next year I decided I'm going to switch over and do a podcast because I've got all these interviews that I've done, and I was like, how am I gonna like let people hear these? Because the documentary that I'm going to do with all these interviews, they're only going to be a few seconds of each 1 hour talk, 1 hour conversation. So I was like, this is perfect for a podcast. So I have to go back and get everybody's permission. But I've interviewed like 40. That's a couple years of podcasts probably if I just put those in there. So
Excellent.
Heck
Good
yeah.
plan.
So New Year's resolution, start a podcast. So maybe I'll get some tips from you guys after we end.
Well, that's
Rockhound Podcast 2023. Justin Prim becomes the new co-host.
Oh man, but that is really something to look forward to. I had a tinge like, oh no, December he's going to be done, like he's going to fly off in a helicopter or something, and that's it. But it's good to hear that you're going to continue doing like the live style stuff. I think that the podcast venue, from what we can tell from other guests that we've had, they were having a chance to flow as themselves as opposed to being their channel, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a treat.
Because I mean, if you're doing whatever I'm doing this week, it's usually about some idea or topic that I'm just presenting as a presenter. So this way it's just like this is like the behind the scenes, I guess, right? Like, this is what's really going on or whatever. But I don't want my channel to be about me. Like, that's not the point of it. It's about gems and cutting and learning and stuff. But I also am really interested in people's stories. So the chance to like put together something in the podcast format that is just storytelling, I love that. Plus, as a cutter, I listen to podcasts all the time. Like I'm listening to podcasts while I work, and now this year I'm driving so much, it's like audiobook until I can't take it anymore, and then I'll switch over to a podcast, listen to a record, and then back to another podcast, and then back to an audiobook. So I'm consuming so much media this year, which is fun.
That sounds so familiar. Like, whatever I'm working on in my studio, I've got something rolling the whole time, which is great because you can just binge on something. And that thing that you said about, well, I don't want it to be about me, but what ends up happening is that you do get interested in the human, no matter how good the subject matter is and how totally into it is. I love it when Morning Man Lambo giggles, when he finds a fossil, and so he could just have pictures and footage of just the fossils that he finds in New Zealand, and I would be just happy. But there's something more to it when, like you said, you were recording your enthusiasm over how totally insanely cool it was that you found. That's again infectious,
Yeah. So Yeah, a healthy balance, I guess. You know, you don't want to go too far in either way because it can get really dry, or it can just become too much of like a diary, I guess, or some kind of
Yeah.
you know, dear diary, let me tell you every single thing that I did today. You know, could be too much.
Absolutely.
Right. There was thread on my sweater that I needed. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, sometimes when I edit the vlogs, I will be like, yeah, I kind of went off on a rant here. Like, let me just delete that part. You know, I get to edit it out a little bit, so it's a nice thing just to, you know, whatever. But now from doing this for a year, you know, I mean, I'm sure you guys have experienced this too. Like at the beginning of the year, I was like, I never did a travel log. I don't know. I feel awkward walking around with my phone talking to it, and like, but now like, okay, it's been 12 months. I don't even care. Like I was like walking through the GIA yesterday, just like narrating, and this dude's beside me, and I'm just like, whatever, you know, like I don't care if he's standing here, like watching what I'm doing. Like, surely by now people know that I'm doing a vlog. Like, it's not going to be a surprise that I'm going to bust out my phone. But yeah, it's you just sort of get really comfortable to just know what you're going to say without having to think about it. And I think I've been doing a lot of talks this year too, public speaking, and mostly I've been doing the same talk over and over and over again. So now when I do the talk, it's like I'm just talking to you. Like I know the talk, I know it upside down, backwards, left and right. I don't need to look at it. I don't even need to see the computer. Like, let's just have story hour, and I'm just walking around, you know, telling stories, but with PowerPoint slides. So and I'm, you know, same with podcasting, I think, right? Like first couple episodes, still trying to figure out your group dynamic. But at this point, you got your in jokes, you got your routines, you've got your characters, you know, you got your weekly names and all this
Yep.
stuff. So you just sort
Get that
of,
right, Bill.
Yes.
so yeah, you just sort of find the groove. And I think now I'm in the groove of the vlog, which I guess is kind of ridiculous to end it, but you know, you only have so many hours of the day, right?
Yeah. That is so true. These things, especially those channels out there that are listening to, can totally empathize on the, you know, the obsessing of, was that too much of a tangent? Do I like that music? Was that too
Yes.
long? Was that too short? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, another one of your huge endeavors that you've put a cap on is the book that you've released about the secret teachings of gem cutting. Tell us
Yes.
more about that.
Well, so that was my other big pandemic project. The first thing that I did when I didn't have a job was I started to think about like all these projects that I had been wanting to do. And one of them was I wanted to do kind of like a science project about what are the effects of cut, you know, alone without any other factors. So I spent like 3 months making this reference set of like every different kind of major faceting style that you see in the jewelry trade. And you know, I got a lot of info from that. But once I had all that done, and I was like, oh, I've got all these designs that I've done now. Like these are all the classic designs, and some of them people have been asking me for several years, and I don't ever put them out into the internet because I'm just like, these are kind of secret special ones. You know, these are ones that I learned from my mentor, I learned from people in England or from Germany or France or whatever. So I started to I had this idea of doing a book, but 50 designs is like 50 pages of book. And I was like, I don't know. There's a book there, but I don't know what's the concept yet. You know, like I don't know what's going to flesh it out. And then I was talking to one of the guys in Bangkok who he runs a gem cutting factory, but he also owns this restaurant that we hang out at all the time. And so I'm having lunch over there, and I'm talking to him about the sample set. And he gave me the idea. Actually, he was like, you should do a book where you have all those designs, but like in a high RI and a low RI and a medium RI. So you can do all these different types of stones with the same design. And I was like, oh, 50 designs times 3, that's 150 pages. That's a book. So he gave me that little the missing key that I needed. So I think December 2020, I put out the call on Facebook for a graphic designer, like someone in the faceting community, because I needed a graphic designer to help me do it. And I met this guy, Michael Holmes from Philadelphia. And so he sort of contacted me and said, here's my portfolio. I just started faceting, but I'm a professional graphic designer in Philadelphia with this company. I'd be interested to do it. And so we started working on it in January. I think by June, we had finished like the first, not the first draft, but like a first printed draft. And so that we could do a Kickstarter. So we did the Kickstarter in June. I think by September, we had finished the final version of the book, had 1,000 copies printed, shipped all the Kickstarter ones out, and then started selling more. And by January, so like literally 1 year after we started it, all the books were sold out. So we sold 1,000 books in the first year. So to me, it's a huge success. We did the whole thing independently. So we had to figure out, first of all, how do you make a book? How do you make it beautiful and make it good? We had a team of people that volunteered to do the peer review and editing, reading and telling us all the mistakes that we'd made. So I think we went through 21 versions of the book until finally we had the final version 21, which was the finished version. And so, that came out, and I was really happy to see that it was working, because I was imagining when we did the Kickstarter, I was like, could we possibly sell 300 books? Like that was my personal goal, 300 books. And we did 600 in the Kickstarter in 1 month. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then we opened up orders on our website, and they just sold out in a few months. So we were just like, wow, okay, this worked. So we just did the second printing, which has given us the opportunity after a year to like find a couple more mistakes that we had missed in the book. So we fixed all the mistakes that we know about. Hopefully that's all the ones that there are now, and printed another 1,000 copies. And so now those just arrived a couple weeks ago. And so I've been able to like have them for talks, and I'll have them for the Tucson show. And we've already sold like, I don't know, 200 of them. So it's crazy. Like every day I wake up and we sell a book, and I'm just like, yes, I don't even have to do anything today. But then I do things all day. So
because you got to get your faceting in. I mean,
exactly.
We don't want you to go Betty White on us or anything.
No. So but it's been a really great experience. And now that's kind of just, I guess, been the first step for like being able to do many of these types of things. Now we know how to print a book. We know the printer, and we're trying to set it up so we could actually help other people do it too. We have a publishing company now. We've made a publishing company. So if we want to put out somebody else's book, like when I was in high school, I ran like a punk record label, like this little, making CDs and everything. And so now I'm just like, oh, I guess I'm doing that again. But the quality level has gotten a lot better, and we're not burning them in my mom's
publishing.
It pretty much is. It's punk book publishing. It just looks nice. But we're still just punk rock behind the scenes. So
was that what kind of music you were playing? Or
right.
Oh, that's awesome.
In high school. So
Sweet.
So hopefully this book will do well. And then we're going to try and we want to do 3 volumes of this, like the Secret Teachings of Gem Cutting. This is volume 1, the classic cuts. We're hoping to do volume 2, which will be modern cuts, and then volume 3 will be historical cuts, so that I can take all the research that I've been doing for the last 6 years about the Renaissance and even medieval and later cuts, and give those a place to be found, a reference with like really beautiful photos and all the diagrams and stuff. So that's our long-term plan, but I don't know how long it'll take to do that. It takes a long time to do the book. It took 9 months from the moment we started the project till when I actually had the final books in my hand. So I was like, okay, that was quite a long time. That's almost, most of my year was doing that. So I have too many other things going on right now to think about volume 2, but I want to do another one.
Yeah. So and I think that that gives the community this a great archived resource. When you, especially this, I all 3 of them I'm excited to get, but that last one just also, I love history, And so, like when you said like medieval gem, I'm like, oh yes,
Yeah.
that I need to see. That's so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
And then of course, I'm sure Bill over here is like, yes, and I would do that cut immediately, take it
Yeah.
when I'm being fabulous and renaissancey. Yeah.
Yeah, just do it traditionally.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Super.
so I've got a collection of like antique machines now. So if I want to do something not necessarily medieval, but like if let's say I wanted to do something like old mine cut, 1880s, like I have a faceting machine from the 1880s, so we could do it
That is so
the
cool.
There's a
old-fashioned
video.
way.
That's a video I would watch.
Yeah.
So
Again and again. Yeah.
yeah, I had this other idea that I never got around to doing, but I really wanted to put together like, sort of like a Renaissance fair costume, but it's the 1380s gem cutter, because I've got this wonderful sort of depiction and I've found like 7 different versions of this book. So there's 7 different pictures of the same scene of a gem cutter playing a harp, talking to his patron, and he's got a gem cutting machine and his bowl of gems right there. And they're all the books are from the same like 10-year period. They're just different editions. So you can see he's got like the pointy leather shoes and this like this sort of like acorn cap and his tunic and his tights. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I want to live in the Renaissance fair and just like be the gem cutter guy, with my little hand crank thing and my acorn cap and my pointy shoes.
Could you do that, please?
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Right.
I looked into it once. I think if you do the Renaissance fair full time, that's like a whole life. It's not. I think it's not easy to get in the Renaissance fair. If you put all the stuff together to get into one, you pretty much have to do all of them, because it's like a huge investment of merch, basically. So
Yeah.
maybe that's like a retirement project or something. I don't know. The thought of moving back to America, though, opens up some possibilities like that. If we're in the West Coast, California has like 30 Renaissance fairs throughout the year. So I'm just like, well, we could kind of do that if we took a year off and just do Renaissance fairs for a year. That'd be pretty funny.
Heck yeah. I run a booth at our local Renaissance fair. It's not nowhere near the scale of like California or the Denver one, but it's so much fun. Like I would highly recommend doing it just for the experience, because it's a blast.
Okay, yeah, okay, that gives me some confidence. I love going to Renaissance fairs. My wife's never been to one, so I'm just like, oh man, we gotta go.
Yeah, they're so much fun.
Yeah. So who knows, maybe coming soon to a Renaissance fair near you.
You heard it here, folks. So you spoke of some old faceting machines, and that sounds so incredible. You've got one in front of you, and I believe part of your lecture on this, the hand piece. It's a unique machine, is it not?
Yeah, so the machine that I use, like I see you've got your Facetron back there. If people have been, seeing the normal American machines, this one is like totally different. Instead of having the arm right here where it normally would, mine's got this handpiece. So
Yes.
I put the stone into here, and then this gives me like all my controls. So I've got my angle, my index gear, and then the plate goes up and down the way that normally the mask goes up and down. So all the controls are the same. I just have the freedom of being able to pick it up and look at it in all these different ways. And I don't know. I started on a normal Ultratech machine, but then when I moved to Thailand, we started using these in the school, and I, after a few months of playing with it to get good at it for teaching, I was kind of just like, I don't think I'm going to go back to my American machine. I kind of felt like almost guilty about it, because I was just like, this is my thing, but now this is my thing. I don't know. So, and now I've sort of been getting people sort of excited about it, because these are way cheaper than the American machines. And a lot of people, that's the major problem that they have when they want to start faceting, is like, I don't want to spend $5,000 on a machine. Plus you need so many accessories. So, we're going to be in Tucson show with these, and we're going to put together like a whole package where you can get the machine, all of this stuff, and the laps. And it's like less than $3,000, I think. I don't know the final price yet,
Dang.
but all you need is a desk and a chair, and we're going to give you everything you need other than the rocks. So they can watch your guys' podcast, figure out where to go and get the rocks, and then come to us and get the machine and just go. So, but yeah, I really like this one, partially for the price, but also just it's really flexible. It's really free in a way that, I don't know, there's just something I felt when I started using this machine that I never felt with the American style machines. And I never went back. Like, my machine is dusty. My American machine is dusty. It's been sitting there for years untouched. And this one is my travel. Yeah, I've been traveling with this one all over the world this year. So it's kind of funny.
Oh, that's so cool. I've seen
Yeah.
those, and they blow. It shatters my perception of faceting when I see those things. It's like, that is so cool and so different.
Yeah, it's so different. But I find as a teacher, they're a lot more intuitive, because since this thing's in your hand, normally if you're faceting, the arm is like facing you, and you're looking at it backwards. Like when you tilt it forward or backwards, it's sort of backwards than what it should be or something. But if you flip it around and it's in your hand, if you want to tilt the stone forward to change the angle, it just goes forward. And it's very intuitive. Like oh, I want to make the brake facet a little bit bigger. So like, oh, it just has to tilt back a little bit. And within like one stone, the students really get the hang of how to move this thing around and how to use the cheater to tilt it left and right. And I found it to be a lot easier. I taught a class earlier this year in England, and they had their own machines already. So one of them was this, and then one of them was a polymetric, like a regular American machine. And for me, it was so frustrating to go back and forth, because everything that I wanted to tell the lady on the polymetric was backwards. And I was just like, this is breaking my brain. But for her also, she was just like, it doesn't make any sense. And I was like, yeah, it kind of doesn't make any sense. But it does. You just have to, whatever machine you use, you're going to get the hang of it. But for me, as a teacher, I found this one, it's very straightforward, and it's just more simple, I guess. There's less little knobs and stuff that you have to really get the hang of. So yeah, it's fun.
I am going to need to look into one of those, because the prospect of being able to, like, it just becomes an extension of your arm, the actual tweaking without it being backwards, but also when you lift the arm up and you have to like crane your head in there to get in and expect the stone.
Especially when you're doing the girdle, and then you have to be like, this one, it's just, this one I can hold it right up to the light and just, it's straight.
Wow.
So
that sounds amazing.
Yeah, it feels good. And I like to think about it, it's almost like, if you think about painting, right? Like the ultimate form of painting, even after thousands or hundreds of years, is just like a paintbrush in the hand, right? There's no modification to that for the master painter. And to me, it's a similar thing. Like this isn't just a stick. I mean, I could just use a jam peg, and like that would just be a stick in my hand. I've done it. It's hard, but like this is one step closer to that, where it's just like, okay, I got this thing in my hand, and it's not like as much of a machine, I guess, as what the other kind of faceting machines feel like. It is that much of a machine, but it just somehow it's more interactive, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
I like the idea of that. I'm sold. Yeah. Okay, so everybody, you have about 3 months to save your pennies. Meet him up in Tucson, and let's clear out all of his machines.
And we're gonna have a table set up in Tucson, like in the backyard, so you can come and play with it. Like we're gonna have one set up for people to play with. So we're trying to make our booth this year just like a party. Like there's rough, there's tools, there's books, there's really beautiful stones, and then there's like this backyard area where it's just like faceters playground. So there's going to be a bunch of faceters there.
That sounds amazing.
So
might have to go to Tucson this year.
Yeah, I've never been to Tucson, so this might be my first Tucson trip.
Yes, we'll do it. We'll party faceter style.
Heck yeah!
I love it. Is there anything else on that table that you want to show and tell other than that kombucha tea that is delicious?
Well, most of it's just my regular tools. I wish I could tell you about these more. We were selling these for a while. These are the centered laps, but sadly we can't get them anymore due to the Russian-Ukrainian conflict. So,
Oh, no.
but I was loving selling those. We had them last year in Tucson. I do have another. This is a funky thing. I had so I was in England earlier this year, teaching this class, but I also went there to meet up with a mentor of mine, this really old school British cutter. And so in the UK, the old school cutters are using this special type of pewter. So it's tin and lead. It's mostly lead. And so they told me the formula that they use to make these laps. And so I had one custom made that would work on my machine. So this is like it's not the only one, but it's the only one of this specific blend that works with these machines. And I got hooked on it. Like this is the only polishing lap that I'm traveling with. And I think for any faceter that's listening to this, that's crazy, right? Like, only one lap. But this lap is working on everything. Even I can polish quartz on this lap with diamond powder, which doesn't even make any sense. I'm getting a really good polish on every stone. I haven't tried it with sapphire yet. That's probably the thing that's not going to work because this is probably too soft for sapphire, but I'm going to try it. I haven't got around to it yet, but I've been cutting tourmalines and aquas and garnets and quartz, and it's so easy. Like, it's such an easy to work with lap. You have to score it because it's so soft. It's very slow if you don't score it, and it's very heavy. But I kind of wish that I could get these mass produced, but the lead thing is really challenging in America. Like, you can't,
yeah.
nobody will mass produce lead. And even importing it from like China or something, there's so many complications because of the lead. So I think I'll probably just not talk about it very much so people don't get too excited. But if you can find because you can find old ones, right? Like some of the old MDR laps, they did a pewter or like a 50-50 lead tin or a type metal. If you find one of those old ones, try it, because it blew my mind when I started using theirs. I was like, I must have this. So that's kind of fun. I don't know what else. It's just regular stuff, dops and glues and waxes and this is all stuff. This is actually stuff from our faceting school. So I've just stolen one of the student seats so that I could have something to take with me on the road. And it's actually been quite handy. I mean, when we were in Utah, we cut a bunch of stones. When I was I've been able to do a bunch of demos at the lapidary clubs. And now that I'm sort of stationed in Southern California for a few months, I'm doing regular work for customers again, which is really fun because I haven't been cutting this whole year. So it's nice to just like get back into my zone. And like I said, I'm pushing my creative boundaries right now too with the design, and going into some altered states of geometry, I guess. So it's been cool to. I love the idea of traveling with a facet machine. Like, normally I think if I had a mass machine, I wouldn't feel so good about it because they're more delicate. Like this one, it's a super heavy duty tank. It almost can't break. So, this thing, I keep it in a bubble envelope and it's okay. So yeah, it's traveling with facet machine. It's cool.
Wow.
That's such an awesome concept.
It is.
I've been thinking about the year, like, kind of going back to my punk rock roots, like, my music days, like I'm kind of imagining like I'm on band tour again, except for now, instead of going and playing shows, I'm going and doing talks, or I'm going and doing demos. But it's really the same thing. Like, I've got my book for sale. That's my merch. I've got my instrument here. I've got my show that I do. And
your two turntables and a microphone.
Exactly. I don't know if anyone's done this before, like just do like a faceting tour, world tour. So
you need the t-shirt, Justin.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would wear that shirt.
We're gonna have them in Tucson.
Okay.
So
yeah, the world tour.
That is so awesome.
So yeah, it's been fun. Yeah. I'm not even, usually after a couple of months of traveling, like you're kind of worn out and tired. And I'm on this is the beginning of month 12, right? We just started December.
Wow.
So I'm not even tired yet. Like the interactions that I'm having with all the people are really keeping me energized. And also just, I have a project that's unfolding before me. So it's constantly giving me, enthusiasm and joy and motivation. So I'm just like, I want to keep on going.
Well, after watching the travel log, I don't think anybody's like feeling sorry for you either.
No,
You've
but
been having some fun.
the one thing that you don't see in the travel log though is my bank account just going down,
Ooh.
down, down.
Oh
So
yeah.
this is why I have to like recoup some expenses now. We got to go back to work and cut some stones and stuff because unlike the band tour, or maybe exactly like the band tour, I'm not making money off any of the any of the live stuff. It's just like I'm giving a talk. It's not often that they pay me to do that, so it's just like me doing the thing I want to do and connecting with people. I guess though, eventually I will make a book out of this and then I'll sell that, so that will do some good for my bank account. But whatever.
Well, and I'm sure like the networking is outstanding as well.
Yeah,
Oh,
no, for
absolutely.
sure. It definitely has a financial boost, but it's sort of indirect and comes later, but it's definitely worth it. I'm really happy. It's because of the book that I'm able to do this. The money that we made last year from the book has just been paying for a lot of the stuff and the teaching. We did some classes along the way this year that have been really cool. So yeah, I just feel really lucky that I got to do this. I'm not sure if I'll, I guess you never know what you're going to do in the future, but it seems hard to believe that I'll be able to do a 12-month road trip again. Like that seems crazy to me, but maybe you never know, I guess.
That's awesome.
So,
Yeah.
I guess
You
if
might just be
Airbnb
wearing
starts
pointy.
sponsoring me.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Airbnb and wear pointy shoes and you're good.
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you for the shows and tells on your table. How about you, Bill? Have you got a show and tell for us tonight?
I do. I actually was gonna see something really quick. Well, here, we'll do this one first. I have two. One of them I don't have the video on my laptop, but I shared it to myself, so I was gonna see if it downloaded because it's gonna be really hard to see it otherwise. So this is a Montana sapphire that I faceted for my girlfriend for our anniversary, and then I made the silver. It's Argentium silver band that I made from scratch. I just love working with this stuff. I think this was I don't remember. I think it was just barely under 2 carat sapphire. Really pretty.
What's the locality? Do you know?
This one was from Gem Mountain.
Okay. What machine do you use for faceting?
I use a Graves Mark I that is like older than twice as old as I am. Like that is an ancient machine, and I love it.
So that's good work.
That's also why I'm looking at upgrading, because that poor old machine needs to get retired. It's not as good as it could be. But here, this is the one. Let me see if I can find it. Where is it? Which folder? This one.
It turned out lovely, by the way. It was gorgeous.
Oh, thank you.
She must be very happy.
Has your girlfriend seen it already?
Oh yes, she loves it. She is obsessed with the sapphire, so she was very excited about that. Is this playing? I don't know if this is working or not.
No, we just see the window.
Oh, okay. I did the wrong thing. One sec. This is so confusing.
We see all your dog pictures.
Oh yeah,
That's
the Milky Way with
yeah. Let me see. Where did it go? Stop share. Share again. Desktop. Where is it?
Kyle, can you go over to
Kyle, help me.
Yeah.
Kyle, I need you.
Bill at his place.
You got to open the photo first.
Yeah, I believe you have to do open.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense. Open the video. Pause. Oh gosh. See, this is why I wanted to test before we started, because if there is technology involved, I will mess it up.
You're making me feel better about myself, though.
Okay, there we go. There it is. There we go. Okay.
Ooh.
This is a lab-grown ruby that I faceted. I believe this is called a Pharaoh's Eye cut, and that was a really fun one to do.
Oh wow, that's complicated. There's all kinds of stuff going on in there.
Yeah, it was a long one. So pretty though.
How long did it take to cut it?
I probably about, let's see, so probably averaged about 6 or 7 hours per side. It was 2 full work days to make that one.
Wow, yeah. It looks nice though. I mean, it's a good result. It definitely looks like an eyeball.
Thank you.
Worth it.
Yeah, that one's one of my favorites to do. I've done one out of it had some inclusions, but it was aquamarine. It was so pretty because I had one inclusion like right in the center that had that rainbow flash that you see in broken quartz sometimes. So there's just a rainbow right in the center of the eye, and then I did another one with smoky quartz. But I think that lab grown ruby is probably my favorite one. That yellow just goes with it so well.
Yeah, it looks cool. And if you ever have an accident and lose your eye, you can just pop that in.
Yeah, yeah, it'd look really cool.
You know that's why he did it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Like just in
Next
case,
Ren
I got
Fair.
a backup.
Yeah, exactly. And those are my 2. I guess I have another one, but it's not with me physically. But I have no way of sharing it at the moment. I could send it over, I guess. So I guess I'm
what is it, man?
it's a Portuguese round moldavite that I cut. Really pretty.
Oh,
But
cool.
this is just theoretical because I don't have a picture at the moment.
But it might be reality right now for everyone.
Yeah. I might have a picture. One sec. Do I? Oh, I do. Hey.
Hey,
Hey.
dude, save you some editing time.
I forgot that it was a video that I did. Oh, I just did this. It was a video I did a while back. So, oh, do I have a picture of just it? No, it's with all of them. All right. So I have the picture from the thumbnail. So here it is. It's the one in the middle. Of course, it's the only one out of focus, man.
But that's
so
very impressive.
frustrating.
And we like seeing all of the pretty gems. So.
Yeah.
You're just flexing.
Yeah. Oh, the big blue one was actually glass. I thought it would be fun to do.
Yeah, that's a pretty collection there.
Well, can I show one more thing? I have a stone that I finished
Of
yesterday,
course.
Yeah.
but I lost my. Oh, there it is. I'll use my loop again and see if you can see it. So this is.
I love the loop on the Zoom cam. This is like
Yeah.
new, brand new. Yeah.
It works good if it works.
There it is. Getting there. Oh yeah,
there
here
it
we
is.
are. Oof. Wow,
Wow.
that is just
So I did this. I
succulent.
finished this one yesterday. It's Malaya garnet.
That is gorgeous.
And sorry it's so shaky, but it
Oh, no,
came out
that's
so
totally
well.
cool.
The color is just like boom. It's so cool.
Yeah, that
And,
is rich.
Yeah, so you can see without the shaky
That is
stuff. But yeah,
gorgeous.
even in this nighttime light, it's still, you can see, even on the camera, you can see it's like that super vivid, like pumpkin, or I guess it's almost the Fanta color. It's a little bit darker than what they call like the Fanta orange, but it's somewhere between like Fanta orange and pumpkin orange. Maybe it's pumpkin spice, I guess.
Okay,
But,
there you go.
It came out really well. And actually, I was
Haters
thinking about
can't
this
hate on that.
So let's see. I didn't weigh it yet. So let's see, how much does it weigh? 4.25 carats. That's pretty good off of a 7-carat stone. And that's a good yield. I think
That
I
is a
got
really
almost half
good
the
yield.
stone.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to up my yield game this year. The customer I have right now is crazy about yields. He's just like, I want it to be as high as possible. He's like, don't lose any of the stone. I'm like, well, there's trade-offs for that, but he's like, nope, make them big.
Oh.
So now I have to try to be creative and make a big stone that is also still beautiful and find the perfect balance. But he's been happy so far. He's paying me, so he hasn't complained yet. So, but yeah, and then tomorrow we'll see how the Tourmaline came out.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
excited to see that.
Yeah, that garnet, like if it was stuck on my finger, I'd probably not be able to look at anything else. You know, I'd just be admiring it the whole time.
Yeah, I kind of want to keep it. I've been wanting to cut like these bright orange garnets, and they're really expensive, so I haven't ever, found one that I felt comfortable buying. But this was somebody else's, so I just get to enjoy it for a little while without having to pay for it.
Oh, borrowed beauty. Fabulous.
I think as a cutter, as a commercial cutter, we get so much cool material that comes through that for us, we don't even have the urge to, like, because some people just really like buy stones. They want to buy stones and have these collections of stones. And I'm just like, I don't even need to, because every week I've got like 5 new stones coming in. And those are my stones for the week. And then next week I'm going to get some other ones. And I don't need to have a personal collection because it's fluctuating. It's fluid, I
Constantly
guess.
satiated.
Yeah. So then
That's
instead of
fantastic.
getting like really high-end stuff, all the stones I have are souvenirs. Like, okay, the stone that I mined myself in Montana, and the stone that I got from the quarry outside of Philadelphia, and like some rocks that I picked up along the way. And that's just my special collection. No value whatsoever other than sentimental.
That's awesome. Yeah, those are beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And as Justin pointed out, I brought my faceting machine up here. It was living downstairs, and I'm about ready to light it up. I know a lot of you didn't even believe me that I had one. Where are the gems? People have been asking me this ever since I went up to Washington and picked this bad boy up. But as both Bill and Justin and many of you out there will understand, if you get an older machine and whoever had it didn't put away everything that they had amassed for the making of the gems with it, and it's very specific what fits into it, like the dops and stuff like that. If it didn't come with it, then you're on a treasure hunt. And so I've been on a treasure hunt for the last several months looking for bits and pieces for this machine, and she's about ready to fire up, and I absolutely cannot wait. And so I'm really excited to get into my faceted gems. I was told a while back, maybe one of the first times I had gone to the Sunstones, I immediately came home and I hand faceted, just like a flat bottom, like a rose cut, but I faceted them by hand, and everybody's like, "You're insane." And I was like, no, they're so rewarding. They're so gorgeous. And like, if you get a really clear one, or if you've got nice color, I mean, they're just so beautiful. So I knew I wanted to get a faceting machine then, and people were talking me out of it. You're not going to like it. It's so tedious. It's going to be horrible. You're why? And so, yeah, I'm just so excited to go down the rabbit hole. Anyways, and so that's show and tell number 1. And then since I don't have,
when did you get it?
A couple of months ago.
And you haven't done anything on it yet. So that's exciting. So as soon as
so exciting.
Have you found all your treasure pieces that you need to get it working?
I have enough to get it working. I still need to. Yeah. So Facetron, the good word is that they're getting bought, and they're maybe going back into business in the new year.
Yeah.
And people are 3D printing some parts. So there's some things that are just coming available now, because there was this like disturbance in the force whenever it was like September, when the news was out that no more bits and pieces, people, and everybody just went around and bought everything. And by the time Karen got the news, because I was just picking up the Facetron, and so I go on to the different websites that say that they have this stuff, and they're like, just sold out. And I was like, no way. No way. Yeah. And so it's like the bicycle that you get for Christmas, but then it's snowed in for the next 3 months or something. Can't go right. But yeah, I should be able to do some work this weekend. And so
okay. So first, so you're gonna post something, first faceted stone?
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know. You guys both said like you don't love to show off your first ones. I guess it turns out it'll probably have a lot to do on how it turns out, or maybe it'll be a blurry picture just to prove that it happened. But
Yeah.
I've got a lot of
Just hold it back like here every time
yeah.
you show it. Yeah,
Right.
it's like you
Or
can't
keep
tell.
it moving. If you keep it moving, it's
Yeah.
really good. People can't track fast enough. But I have a lot of sunstones that are put aside, and I've looked at them I have fawned over them in wintergreen oil until I can't smell anything else. Like you'd think I worked in a morgue or something. And so I'm ready to do some cutting. And so other than so I don't have any faceted stones to show off, but I did some intarsia, and Kyle will pop up a clear picture of this for me that I sent him. But this is some really super dark moss agate on the dark end, and some silver, fine silver in between, and then some graveyard point plume agate on the top, and both of them are self-collected. And I'm going to set this into a ring, and you guys will be able to see that over the weekend. There'll be a short that I'll pop up on YouTube so that you guys can see what happens. It's always fun to see something like the before and then I love the videos. I am like such a total I'm so weak for the before, like, and after videos that somebody, especially if they'll mash it up in a minute. I love watching something get done right before your very eyes and like the instant gratification. So I'm gonna do that with that one.
Yeah,
And
that's cool. I want to see the before and after video. It looks cool from seeing it on the small screen. It looks cool, so I want to see the process.
Thanks. Have you tried any intarsia, Justin?
No, that's like a part of lapidary that I haven't got to yet. I'm curious. Every time I see it, I'm like, oh, how do they do that? But you know, I just like everything else, there's only so many hours in the day, and
Right.
I'm just like so into what I'm doing that I just don't want to. Even cabs, I'm just like, yeah, cabs, faceted stones, you know.
Yeah, that I think a lot of the different things that I've worked on, like the intarsia, was very much like a layup to faceting. You know, there's these different things for getting very precise, and I love geometry. I am bad at math, but I love geometry, and so it's just the kind of like mathiness that like in the engineering that I like to do, but it's all creative, like you were speaking of, and so you get to like have this flowy creation, but you still get to kind of nerd out on logistics and that sort of thing.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. I want to see the video when it's ready. So I'll be
waiting. Yeah, and then there's the alchemy of blending stones too. Like you don't, happen together, but voila, you get to be in the same cab, and so I guess it just makes cab making more fun. Like if you've gotten into
it makes cabbing feel more like faceting.
Yeah, because it can be the static doldrums, especially if you're trying to like, okay, I'm on my, 200 plume agate, and so, and I don't typically do standard cabs either. I'm usually all over the place. Like I like the free form, or I'll facet the top or whatever. It's just more fun and more unique. Like, does the world need another one that's straight out of the the oval or whatever? I'm not throwing shade, guys, but for me, I love doing something unique. That's super duper cool. Fun. Yeah. And so we are on to the words of wisdom. Justin, do you have some wisdom for us?
Well, I guess usually people are emailing me regularly from the point of view of the teacher. I'm the teacher a lot. So I guess words of wisdom is don't give up. I think a lot of people, when they're faceting, they will have something that goes wrong, especially when you're new. It's easy for something to go wrong. And then I know that people there's this concept in the lapidary community where it's like you have a drawer of stuff that didn't get finished, and just like, don't give up, just don't put stuff in that drawer. Just it popped off the top. You can figure out some way to put it back on, even if it looks crazy in the end. Just, it's going to be beneficial to you to try to finish something than to get it halfway done and throw it in the drawer, because then, well, for one, you have a halfway done stone which you can't do anything with, but also you didn't really get the full lesson. So something will go wrong. Even for me, stuff's going wrong every other stone. And the thing that makes you a good cutter is knowing how to just roll with that and compensate for it and still get a good stone. So that's my words of wisdom. Don't give up.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, so true. And it's, I we've talked about showing or sharing failure in some of the past episodes. And I don't think it's a bad thing to feel a little bit better about what you're doing when you hear that somebody really good fails. You don't wish failure on anybody, but it
I mean,
helps.
because you never know what's going to happen. I mean, the material's always different. Sometimes you've cut, a million sunstones, and then this one is just giving you a nightmare, and you're like, why? I don't know why. Even my wife today, she messaged me. She's like, oh, she was so excited about the sapphire she's cutting, and she pulled it out, and she's like, oh, I don't really like how it looks. Like, I think I'm going to recut like a few facets on the bottom, because it's the material's like too sleepy, and the cut she gave it made it look too dark. And she's been cutting for 15 years, professionally cutting for 15 years. And it still happens to her too. She still occasionally, misindexes and cuts on the wrong number. I always know when that happens because I hear swearing in French from the other side of the room. And I don't talk to her. I know what she's done. She's misindexed. So, it still happens to all of us. And, the difference is that you have to, we know how to fix it, or put it back on, or whatever it is. So yeah, it happens though.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Justin. And how about you, Bill? Have you got some whys for us?
I do, actually, and it's funny because it totally ties into what you were talking about. My words of wisdom this week is just improvise. And it actually had to do with the opals that I was cutting. Gosh, was that 2 weeks ago now?
You were sick this week, so it must have been last week.
Yeah, that was like 2 weeks ago now. They were really, really pretty lightning ridge opal, but they were just flakes. So instead of just saying, I can't use these, they're not really like cuttable, they're not really cabbable, let's make some triplets and doublets. Like, we could still use them. And oh my gosh, they're so pretty, and I'm going to be doing more of them tomorrow, but oh my gosh, they came out so well. Or like the other example I had was all the fossil prepping I've been doing. There's so much that goes wrong while fossil prepping. Like, you get a baculite out and it has a seam running through it. So you have to do what's called patching, which you literally take calcite, crush it into a powder, fill that crack, and then put cyanoacrylate in there, and then just level it flat. And that blends and is invisible. But it's just, you got to roll with the punches. Improvising is a very good skill to have in lapidary.
I always wondered, how do you know how to do the triplet? Like, how do you know what adhesive to use? No one's ever told me this.
So with the triplets, the adhesive I use for the back is actually just cyanoacrylate gel, which is really, really creates a strong bond. And for the top, I don't know if what you're supposed to use, but what I always use is actually casting resin, because it cures so hard, but it's also clear, so that you don't get any interference between the quartz cap and the opal underneath. So I always use casting resin, but I'm sure there's like actual adhesives that are more tailored for that purpose. But yeah, the casting resin has always given me really, really good results.
Cool. Yeah, I never heard that. I've never known anyone to make a triplet. I've just seen them already done.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. Yeah, they're fun to make. They're really fun, and it kind of opens up the door with pieces that you wouldn't normally be able to do anything with, because you just give it a nice dark backing, give it a quartz cap on top. The dark backing pops the color, and suddenly you can make something that's like a millimeter thick into a really, really pretty like centerpiece for a ring or a necklace or something like that. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's cool.
All right. Well, thank you. That is, I myself do not love doing triplets. I'd rather stick to the doublets, but it's only because of the steps. I like to use some instant grat, you know.
I love the triplets. I have a lot of fun with the triplets.
That's
Doublets
awesome.
are certainly faster.
I'm glad that you exist so that they happen. Fabulous. Boy, I would say thank you for your words of wisdom. I like the idea of going into your scrap drawer and seeing if you can't save any babies in there. But, like, you made me think, Justin.
So you have one of those drawers.
I definitely
guilty. I like it's right there.
Oh man. Well, I am proud to say I do not have one of those drawers. I think one of the things you end up learning as a professional cutter is that you can't not finish the job because it's not your stone. They have to go back. Sometimes I do get to the situation like, you know, something devastating's happened, like it's popped off the dop during polishing. I put it back on, it's not straight, and I'm literally cheating every single facet, and it's like a nightmare. But then you're just like, okay, well, I did that. It's done. Cool. I know how to do that now. So next time it's easier. And yeah, I don't have one of those drawers. I'm very proud about that.
Awesome. Plus, you know, you don't want to have to bring a drawer like that around on a tour. That would just be extra luggage.
So
yeah. So I'm gonna steal that for my words of wisdom. Look into your drawer of ancient failures and see what you can pluck out of there and save. Because I think a lot of times, like I kind of more originate from the painting art side of things, although stones and that has always been a part of my life because of my family. And it's interesting how you can go back and you can look at a piece of artwork that you have done, and you can fix it in your eyes. And sometimes you know that you should just leave it the way that it is and never touch it again, and possibly make a bonfire out of it or whatever. But other times, like I've turned canvases to the wall like a bad child, and I don't want to look at you, and you might sit there for a year and then you turn it back around, you know, every couple months going like, yep, nope, you still just give me like a shiver up my spine. I hate you. And then and then one day though, you turn it around and you're like, I have the solution. I've grown enough. I have a solution for you. And so it can be part of the growing process, I think, is, you know, fixing problems that you couldn't at some point during your development. So
yeah,
I'm gonna look through my drawer.
Yeah, and that's sort of just like having a rough collection too, right? Like sometimes you get rough, whether it's faceting or cabbing rough, you get the rough and then you might not do anything with it for a few years. Like you're thinking about it, or you're not totally sure what the right cut is for it. And then one day you're going through the drawer and you're like, oh yeah, today's the day for that one. I know exactly what I'm going to do. So
yeah, absolutely.
I feel that.
All right. Wow. Are we ever wise tonight? Okay. Snap out of it, Karen. So where can people hunt you down on the socials if they want to? For one thing, we're all going to go look at that Tourmaline as soon as you post it on Instagram. So
yes,
give us a list of your socials.
Okay, well, usually if you just type in my name, Justin K. Prim, you'll find me on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Reddit. I'm in a Discord faceting group. But if you want to learn more about the book, which I should have had one right here to hold up, but if you're thinking about buying the book, The Secret Teachings of Gem Cutting, or you want to see some of our faceted stones, we've got a website, magusgems.com. That's MAGUS gems.com. And so the books and the gems are there. And then if you are wanting to learn about faceting, our faceting school is called Faceting Apprentice. The website's facetingapprentice.com. And finally, I know it's already a lot of websites, but my name, justinkprim.com. that's where I'm putting all of my articles. So if you want to look into the history, or you're learning how to facet and you want to see a guide or whatever, I've got a bunch of different stuff on there, plus old stuff like travel journals and movie recommendation stuff. But mostly it's gym related articles, stuff from magazines that I did that I can then put on my website. So there's some good reading on there, and then the YouTube has some good videos. So one way or the other, you can find me doing something hopefully fun.
Fantastic. And yeah, we've got the potential for the podcast coming up. And so what I would say is regardless, it would be wonderful to have you back on and hear some more about what you're up to, especially if you burgeon onto this new project. We can have a podcast discussion, if that's not too redundant.
or we can put it the other way. You guys can come and join me on my podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
we can talk about it on the other side.
That sounds awesome. Thank you. All right. And so have you got anything to put on top of that, Bill? A little cherry, or you
No,
good?
I think we're good.
Fantastic.
We built the whole cake.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. And then some. Thank you so much, Justin, for coming on. It has been an absolute pleasure. And I know that there's just so much more to learn from you. Go check out everything that he's got online, everyone. And for you guys, definitely hit us up on the email in the description for the invite to the show and tell, and the invite to the Discord. We're still amassing your show and tell so that we can share them around. And until the next time, get out there and do some rocking, and we'll see you next week. Thanks again.
See you later.